If you're thinking of selling your Colorado home within the next year or so, there's really some things you need to be paying attention to right now and considering. Here's 5 things to consider if you think a move is in your future. First up is timing. Timing is everything when it comes to a seller. If you didn't know, Colorado is known for our seasonality, not just in the weather, but also in the market. We actually have 2 peak seasons in Colorado when it comes to selling your home. The first one, and the one most people know about, is in the spring. Now, the tricky thing here is you need to pay attention to where that peak happens. For most years, that peak is happening right around May. But that's the date the house closes, not the date the house goes under contract, and not the date the house goes to market. So, if a house is closing in May, and that's the month that all of our houses are closing, what month did the house go under contract? Well, most likely in April, which means for the market we stand in today in 2026, what month was the house most likely listed in? Well, most likely March. So if you're trying to time your house sale to hit the peak season this spring, we need to have your home on the market in March. The second peak season we have in Colorado is actually in the fall. By May, houses are selling. June, houses are still selling. Come the end of June and July, people are off on family vacations, celebrating 4th of July, camping, doing all kinds of things. They're checked out of the market. Come August, we fall off the face of the earth. You know why? Because school's back in session, and you know most parents have as much as they can handle in August. Come Labor Day weekend, however, everyone's ready to get back into the groove of things, which means our market starts picking up. More houses come on the market, more buyers come out of the woodworks, which makes the fall the second peak season in Colorado. So, if you think you need to sell, you are going to consider those 2 seasons. Spring, starting in March, or fall, starting about mid-September. We also need to pay attention to the timing of the market. What is the market conditions right now, and where do we think they're going to go? Right now, it's 2026. Our market has picked up a little bit, and yet there's a war happening with some bombs being shot, and that's going to have an effect on a lot of things. We don't know what that's going to look like yet. It's too early to tell. But for you, it could be really important. So if you're thinking you need to sell within the next year, we need to start considering some major factors. Where are you going? What's the market like there? What are the home values? Where are the home values today? If you could sell your house today for the price it's worth today, would you? If you would, you might want to do it now instead of taking the risk to see what the market does down the road. That's something we should analyze on an individual basis, but it should be worth looking into. Depending on where you're moving, if you're staying in the state of Colorado, if you're just moving a couple neighborhoods away or to a different city, we're also going to want to look at the values and the home prices in that city to make sure the timing of those values makes sense for you as well. If you're moving out of state, we need to be looking at what's happening in that state, because each market is different, each neighborhood is different, so certainly each state's going to be different. And I have a network full of agents in every single state across the country that can help you analyze what your house there might look like. So first thing to consider if you're moving within the next year is timing. Okay, second thing to consider if you think you're selling your Colorado home within the next year, the value. Now, that seems like an obvious question. Jessica, of course, I want to sell my house for as much as possible. Well, yeah, that's true. And that's going to be true for pretty much everybody. And yet, it's not always the number one considering factor. Because if you're retiring and you've owned your house outright for a few years, and you're going to walk away with a nice chunk of change in cash, and you're looking to put that into your retirement home, maybe you're downsizing, maybe you're moving out of state to somewhere more affordable, value might not be as important as you think it is. Now, we're coming off of a season where we spent years thinking, oh, we're getting multiple offers on our houses and we're going to get you top dollar for your house. And yeah, that's our job, to get you top dollar for your house. And yet, the very highest number might not be the most important. If we think the market's going to fluctuate within 6% over the next year, is that 6% that big of a difference for you? Maybe for you, maybe it makes more sense to sell now with the guaranteed rate we can get you right now and get you where you want to be anyway. Maybe there's other factors that don't play as much into that. And so it makes more sense for you to sell now than to wait a year and risk whatever the market's going to do. So value is important and it's prioritized as your realtor. It's my job. And yet it's also my job to know you and your situation and to know that that might not be true for you and your specific situation. So let's talk about it. What's your house value? Where do we think it's going to go? And where do you want it to be? What number do you really need to get out of your house in order to make the move make sense for you? Because, like I said, if you're going to move out of state and you're downsizing, then maybe that extra $20,000, $15,000 isn't going to make that big of a deal for you. And you'd rather just cash out now and get where you want to be and start living your life sooner rather than later. All right, item number 3, if you think you're selling your Colorado home within the next year or so, it is time, believe it or not, to start thinking about what updates and improvements do you need to do to your property to make it look the most appealing to the most amount of buyers. Because, believe it or not, those things matter. Judging a book by its cover when it comes to a home matters. It's going to help you sell it quicker. It's going to help you sell it for more money. Now, we're still going to expect the buyer to do their due diligence and make sure they're getting a good product, but that book cover really makes a difference. And that shows up not only from the first time people walk to your front door, but way before that to what the pictures look like online. So we're talking, what does the inside of your house look like? And what are things that we can do really easily to help make that appeal to more buyers and without spending too much money? I always tell my clients that if we don't have to spend money on it, I'm not going to advise you to. It's my job to protect your money. Also, not just help you make more money, but also to protect the money you already have. So I'm not going to advise you to do something that is unnecessary. And yet, there are things that really would make a difference. So here's a few ideas. If we're going to talk about curb appeal, especially from the photos online, what's one of the first things people see? Well, believe it or not, it's color. You kind of look at, when your eye sees the room, they see like a whole big picture at first. They don't just see the nooks and crannies. They're not necessarily pinpointing that beautiful stainless steel glass range. They'll notice it, but it might not be the first thing that catches their eye. And if they're flipping through pictures, they're going to say, there's a green wall and then a blue wall and the yellow, and then what's that wallpaper? And oh my gosh, there's too much going on in this house. That's exactly what we want to avoid. So the very first thing you can do, and this, because it's a lot of legwork and you might not want to pay somebody to do this, you might want to do it yourself and save some money. So the very first thing you can do is paint. I'd pick a neutral color. I have a great list of palettes that I can send to you. And I would paint a neutral color in every wall in your house. Now, if your house is already pretty neutral, we don't need to necessarily paint every time before we sell. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're the person that's really made your house your own, which is wonderful, and I think everybody should do that, it's now time to make your house appeal to the masses, which means we need to neutralize it. So, comment below, paint, and I will send you my favorite paint palette for a house. The top color, the biggest one, is going to be the one you're going to want to pick for most of the walls in your house. But it's a good baseline to start. The second big thing you can do is look at the updates in the house and decide really how much money you want to put in this, because there's really a few areas of your house that will return the highest rate for you. Those are always going to be kitchen and baths. So what's your kitchen look like? Are the cabinets kind of falling apart? Are they a little old and greasy? Or are they nice and updated? Are they new? believe it or not, if your cabinets are in great shape, one of the easiest things to do is paint them. I've done it myself. I painted the cabinets in our first house. Turned out great. It lasted for the 5 years we lived in that home. Worked out great when we sold. All in good condition. Now, painting cabinets doesn't always go well because the house we currently live in, they painted the cabinets before we bought it, and let me tell you, they did a horrible job. The paint's falling off, it's peeling, it's got chunks, and I can't even redo it. It's done so bad. So we're gonna need a full kitchen gut. Now, if you, hopefully, if you painted your cabinets, they were done well, maybe they could use a touch-up. Could be pretty simple. Maybe your cabinets are a pretty oak color, like a nice modern oak color, and we could look at some new countertops or new fixtures or new lighting. There's a lot of things we can do there. Again, probably going to be pretty individualistic. So send me your house. Let's look at it. I'll walk through and give you some pointers. Same kind of thing in the bath. We want to update it. We want to make it look appealing to the masses. We want to add a pretty feel, fresh, bright, airy, but again, not spend too much money. Painting cabinets, easiest thing. Updating fixtures, super easy. Do you have one of those big glass unframed mirrors on your walls? Well, why don't we switch that out with a framed mirror? Little things we can do to help that appeal be way better for the masses. And if you're going to spend that money, you might want to start now and spread it out over a while instead of cramming and doing all of this within a month before listing. If time is on your side, let's make the best use of it. Okay, number 4. If you're selling your house in the next year or so, you might want to start paying attention to where you're going. We talked about this before, but it plays a big factor into the decision of when we actually list your house. Because if you're staying local, in some ways, that's easier because we can watch both markets at the same time really easily. If you're moving out of state, we need to start roping somebody else in this conversation quickly. I have friends, literally, in every state that I help or I connect my clients to help them analyze that state and figure out a decision for them. If you're downsizing, that's a different conversation. If you're upsizing, it's a different conversation. We need to know what the goal is so that we can start making a strategic plan to get you there. I don't want to say better or faster. I really want to say appropriately. We want to make sure that the timing is right for you. So where you're going matters. Here's the other thing with where you're going. How are you paying for it? There's a big list of baby boomers right now that are getting ready to retire. They're going to be downsizing. They've probably paid off their house or darn near paid off their house. So they're sitting on a chunk of cash, right? They might be looking to take that cash and invest it in their next property. So in that case, it's their cash buyer. But what if they wanted to keep that cash in their bank account and use it to do things like travel, visit their grandkids, buy a farm, buy a cow? I don't know. Well, maybe we need to look at some other loan products to help them get to their next house without using all their cash, like a reverse mortgage. It's received a lot of negative attention in the past decade or two, but you need to reconsider. It can be a really great strategy for you to move into retirement with a great nest egg, really comfortable, and preserve a lot of that cash. Now, if that's not you, if you're looking to upsize, maybe you're having another kids, or you and your significant other just want a bigger space, then maybe we need to look at the conventional loan products like conventional, FHA, VA. So what type of loan are we getting, or how are we paying for this next house also matters. And the last, number 5, but really this should have been number 1. Why are you moving? Because you see, if your reason is big enough, then timing, value, location isn't, if your reason's big enough, timing and value certainly are not necessarily going to matter as much. Let's say you're moving to be closer to family. Here's all I have to say about that. Why wait? Life is so short. We have no idea what's going to happen around the corner. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 seconds, let alone in the next 30 days. So if your goal is to be closer to your family, why wait? 1 year doesn't sound like that long, but a lot can change in a year. So take that to heart and really think about it. If you're downsizing, then, if you're retirement, if you're downsizing because you're retiring, then yeah, you probably need to consider some things. You need to make sure we strategize our retirement a little strategically. We're going to want to pull in your financial advisor. We're going to want to look at your accounts. We're going to make sure that you retire at the right time and make that move at the right time so as to not mess up any of your pensions, retirement accounts, and maximize that money in that way. If you're upsizing, let's say you're getting ready to have another baby. Oh my gosh, so exciting. I've lived this. Trust me, you don't want to move with a newborn. So maybe we need to time it around childbirth and either do that halfway through your pregnancy or wait until 3 to 4 months after the baby's born and you feel a little settled back into life before we start listing your house. So if we're going to consider why, those things can matter, and they matter to you as your family, and everybody's going to have a different reason. So if you're thinking that you might be selling your house in Colorado within the next year, these are the things you need to consider and take to heart, have conversations about, and bring in your realtor as soon as possible so that we can help you start analyzing it, because my job's not to sell you anything. My job's to be your consultant and to help you make the best decision for you. So if you think you're going to be selling your Colorado house within the next year, comment below sell. And I'll send you my free little flow chart that helps you kind of analyze all these points we talked about and figure out maybe the best timing for you and your house. I will also, bonus, send you my whole declutter prepping your house for sale checklist. It's like 4 pages long. You're going to love it. So comment sell and I'll send those to you in your inbox. Now, my name's Jessica Manzano. I represent buyers and sellers in the state of Colorado. I've been here for my entire life. I'm one of the original Colorado natives, and I've sold real estate in the state of Colorado for over 10 years now. If you're looking for somebody who knows what they're talking about, who's helped a lot of people through the very same thing you're going through, please reach out. I would love to serve you in the way that I've served all my clients over the last 10 years.